So, hello everyone, and let me say a huge thank you for the opportunity of being here and to speak to you and see so many people with ambition. And ambition, and this is what we need. And Guntbert, thanks for this very inspiring keynote here. And I would underline everything that you say, because it consists out of two things. The first thing is, when we talk about AI, sometimes my impression is we make ourselves smaller than we are. We have a lot of technology has been developed here in Germany. Our universities, our researchers are world class. For instance, stable diffusion is being developed here, and also the XAI engine, when it comes to generating images, comes from Germany. And we see also a lot of German talents all over the world when I again look to XAI and others, and we see that German talents are thriving this business worldwide. And we have very ambitious startups here, as Helsing is one of them, or Aleph Alpha, or DeepL, and so further and so on. We have several very thriving startups here. But what we need is even more ambition. We need the ambition to be better and to be a global leader in some ways, not in every one. I think this is not achievable. And it's also not necessary. But as we are a country that delivers global solution and has global market leaders, why shouldn't that work in non-physical industries? And therefore we need some things. And the first thing, the first pillar, and I would say one of our core problems is that nobody's going to get a risk. And I will take this risk here by starting with things that are not in what we call in Germany a Zuständigkeit, the responsibility. This is in the ministry business a very important thing. Who is responsible for what? But I'm absolutely convinced we can only be successful to work as a team. And so there are some things to do. And the first thing I believe is in the part of talents. AI is driven by talents. That's the most important thing. And we need to make it easier to bring talents here. Work and stay agency is a part of the coalition treaty, and when it comes to regulatory opportunities, I think this is the biggest one to make it faster and easier for talents to come to Germany. And therefore, it's the second initiative from the Ministry for Research and Technology. It's the 1,000 Heads program, also to found, especially in the field of research, to found jobs for talents from all over the world to come here and to foster our ecosystem. And these are two very crucial measures, I believe, that will help, not only for AI and for quantum, but all over technologies that we need to achieve. And the next thing is, what we need more is data. Data, and this is one of our core initiatives. We need better coherence when it comes to the GDPR. And we need to support the ones who want to use data. We need to enable them. We need to strengthen them and to say data is not bad, to use data it's good. And therefore there will come several laws, for instance when it comes to mobility or in health or in research data, where we'll speed up. We need it to be more easier and better to found companies out of research. When we have the data and the talent, so we need to form companies out of that. And therefore we have too complex governance and structures. And also in the coalition treaty, it's clear to say we want to make founding possible out of universities and research organizations within 24 hours. That's a very important thing. With standard contracts, for instance, what we see right now is that there are debates going over months and months and months about shares and all these questions. And we need a more entrepreneurial spirit on our research organizations and universities. Also, this is a part of the coalition treaty, to make a KPI for universities and for research organizations in terms of how much venture capital is invested into the spin-offs out of their organizations. So this is the whole paradigm shift that we are doing, and this will help us to better start out of the excellent research field into going on the business side. And then it comes to the question of infrastructure. And right now it's discussed all over the place in a single project, that's the AI Gigafactory. And so it's good to see that there is so much involvement, also in Germany. So our first appointment this morning was with the EU Commission, and I learned that there are more than 70 applications all over Europe for gigafactories. From Germany, it's roughly about 12. And in the end, I think competition is good. Competition will drive this. But we also have to raise the question, is this really a business for governments to build AI computers and AI infrastructure? We are pretty proud of having created the best, the most performing supercomputer right now in Europe. It's Jupiter in Jülich. And the Chancellor was there 10 days ago to start the machine. So this is pretty good. It's very good to have this for research applications, but we also need to open up this computer Jupiter also for business and for startups. And that's being said easily, but to do it is a little bit more complicated because this resource with the 24,000 GPUs seems huge, but in the end, if you look at all the applications for using it, so there's room for more. And when it now comes to these gigafactories, I would like to see more initiative from the commercial sector, from the industrial sector. And I don't believe that thriving AI must be something that's done by the governments. It should be in the interest of the economy. And last week I had a dialogue with the very successful CEO of the leading European company, and he told us, so let's stick to the industry. There is the competence for AI, and we should be the ones who drive that. And I totally agree to this. We must support this by making building infrastructure easier. And so we have this as an aim for our data center strategy that's upcoming. It is necessary to make it easier to plug data centers into the power grid, and it's necessary also to make it easier to create the buildings and everything that's around, just to focus on two really existing pain points that we see right now. And then we need to broaden our view, and as this conference today is not only about AI, it's also about quantum and maybe other new computing technologies like neuromorphic computing or photonics. So I think to get better in this digital market and to gain sovereignty for us, it's absolutely necessary to focus more on technologies of the next generation. And the next generation, we see also here very promising companies. For instance, SpinCloud was able to deliver neuromorphic chips for the data centers from the universities in Leipzig and in Dresden. That's a good sign. And we see furthermore companies when it comes to photonics, for instance, Black Semiconductors, others more. Very young teams, very small companies, very promising technologies, and right now they can only succeed, all new computing initiatives can only succeed when they become part of an ecosystem. And this ecosystem today is dominated by cloud providers. That's totally obvious. And so my personal point of view is that we need to think about the question, if the new US government is always raising the question, what is the local content for American businesses when it comes to our industries, for instance, for our car makers. And as I seen a huge Mercedes SUV in front of this building, so this one is built in America. We're doing this right now. Our industry is building products with local content from the US. So why shouldn't it be the other way around? Why not raise the question, what is the local content, what is the technology of our upcoming startups inside of all these data centers of the hyperscalers? We cannot compete against that, that's totally obvious. Nobody will buy a quantum computer for your own company. You will access this over cloud, and also when it comes to neuromorphic computing and others. And so it's good to see that Microsoft already invested here in Mistral. But I think this can only be a beginning, and we have to talk more about this question: what is the local content, and how can we integrate all the new companies starting here and these new technologies into the very successful ecosystem of the American players, which a lot also in this room, I think, like very much to use also today and in the future. So this is something that we have to handle on, and then I was asked to say something about regulatory things. And so I waited for the end to talk about regulatory issues, because I think regulatory can be an opportunity, but often it seems also like a problem. When it leads to a single market, it is good. When it leads to more clarity and for a better framework for companies, it is good. But when we look at the GDPR, then we also have to realize that the enforcement is pretty fragmented. And the idea of a European law and a completely European digital room is not existing right now because of all the single authorities. Also in Germany, we have 18 authorities enforcing GDPR. And it's absolutely crucial that we do not repeat the same problem when it comes to AI. And we appreciate very much that the EU Commission is right now going with this digital omnibus into an initiative to make it, I learned this word this morning to come back to Germany, to make it more bekömmlich. I like that. I like that idea. Yeah. We need to make it more bekömmlich, so to make it easier to adopt, to bring more clarity into all this. And the complexity of the European regulation is quite huge. And I think we need to go back more to the basic principles and to really achieve these basic principles. And then I think it will help the businesses and will not be a problem that makes it unclear what is allowed and what is not allowed. So, to end all this up, thank you for having me here this morning. Thank you for all the international visitors to come here to Germany. I think we together have this ambition, the ambition to get better in field of AI, frontier AI, and all the upcoming technologies. And let's work on this together. And so have a good conference here and all the best.